Good morning. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Saturday meditation practice. If you have any questions today, you are more than welcome to put them in the chat. We'll do our best to cover them either today or at a later date. So let's begin our session. Excuse me. Let's begin by just settling in. So just bringing the mind and body, together in the present moment, being grounded and aware of what we're about to do. Just take some breaths, relax. Konsanda samgara shiri sem pema karajibani shina susundapnata tinga saso katela manam la so wante. Omin chiki ke pojane tusum sange kwenge ngawani transam chakunan sundin sepa. So eneme shapla so wante. So we want to begin, as always, with our bodhicitta motivation. Bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word meaning enlightened mind heart. And the definition is the wish and determination to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So comes with the understanding that we want to help others be free of suffering and of the cause of suffering, which is fundamental ignorance. So there's the compassion aspect of seeing suffering and wanting others to be free of it, and the wisdom aspect that understands the way to remove the cause is to attain enlightenment. So if all of that seems a little bit too much, that's fine and perfectly understandable. At least if we can think, may the time we spent together this morning be beneficial not only for myself, but for others as well. So please take a moment to do that. Okay. Hey, good morning, Tim. Hey, Melina. So I did receive a question yesterday, and it's a good question, and I think something that can be useful for everyone. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're talking about gentle practice. So the question is, how can we practice with inspiration and gentleness rather than pressure and perfectionism? Growing up in my religion, all I had was sticks: fear, shame, rigidity, do this, don't do that. My guilt, rigidity, and perfectionism are powerful currents. I do better with carrots. Essentially, I edited the question a little bit. So let's talk about this. I think it's a lot. I think a lot of us experience this. Um, so, if we were raised in a religion, sorry, hang on, let me just fix this for 1 second. There we go. If we were raised with much criticism from our parents or our family, or in a spiritual path that can carries a lot of guilt with it, it can be hard to approach the practice with a sense of joy and ease, right? It's kind of all of our habits that are associated with spirituality kind of carry this current, yeah, of guilt and shame and pressure and so forth, right? We can also easily fall into feeling like the practice is a duty, something to check off of our to-do list. And so it becomes dry and heavy, right? Um, Jigme Rinpoche said, we do our practice like we're doing our taxes. So we want to change that. If we can, we definitely want to change that. Yeah. So when we say practice is a duty and this kind of thing, I mean, like we're meant to ideally practice every single day. And it is important to set up a daily practice and keep that daily practice to the best of our ability. And we can talk more about that at a later date. But the thing with practicing every day is that we're we can't, it's a couple things. One is we're kind of keeping up the momentum. Yeah. So we don't have to like start from scratch every time and like gear up every time. Like we have the momentum as part of our um what do I want to say, routine, as part of our routine, right? And so it becomes something. The other thing is that practicing every day means that we're practicing through whatever is happening in our life. We're not just practicing when we feel good and groovy and relaxed. Like, how often is that anyway? Right? We're practicing when we feel tired, when we're sad, when we're sick, when we're happy, when we're excited, when we're whatever we're going through, we're practicing. And that really makes our practice a lot stronger and a lot more useful, practical to our day-to-day life. So getting away from this kind of thinking of duty and guilt and pressure and all of that requires a few things. If we want to have like a more spacious approach, we need to do a few things. First, we need to focus on the bigger picture. Okay. Why are we practicing? We have to think about that. Why are we practicing? Right? Um, uh, what got us into this path in the first place? What was it about this path that attracted us? We should think about that. You know, for me, for example, it was the teachers. It was seeing the lamas and how they are and their incredible presence and the clarity and strength of their compassion and wisdom. And I was just bowled away and I'm blown away, and I was like, well, I want that, right? And so that was my initial impetus to practice in this path. Initially, when I started out in the Theravada path, it was just I wanted to be more relaxed. I wanted to be able to deal with my anger, essentially. But people have other types of inspirations. Maybe they like that the path is intellectual and has really strong uh, philosophical basis, this kind of thing. So, think about why you started practicing in the first place. If we're practicing just to check it off of our to-do list or out of obligation, our practice will necessarily be uninspiring and we'll find it difficult to start, much less continue. Hey, Tess. Hey, Lucy. So where does the joy in the practice come from? It comes from a few things, right? It comes from understanding that we're working towards full enlightenment. That's huge. Full enlightenment for ourselves and all beings. Now, I understand it can be really, can be difficult to connect. Like, I'm going to sit here for half an hour, 20 minutes, or however long we're practicing, and that's somehow connected with attaining full enlightenment. Like, how does that work? But it is connected because enlightenment doesn't come upon us like a lightning bolt out of the sky. It doesn't come all at once. Yeah. It comes from gradual progress. It comes from studying and contemplating and meditating. These are the things that lead us to enlightenment. And these are a lot of small steps that end up to a big change. Yeah. And enlightenment, as Rinpoche says, enlightenment means freedom from suffering once and for all. Like what's better than that, What's better than that? Not all the money in the world can't get us that. All the, you know, partners in the world can't bring us that. All the entertainment in the world can't bring us that, you know? And how great is it to be able to do something meaningful for others, right? It comes from noticing incremental changes that come with regular practice. We find ourselves more aware, more calm, more compassionate, and so forth, which helps us and by extension others because we become easier to be around. Yeah, right. Wouldn't you rather be around someone who's calm and compassionate and caring than someone who's, frazzled and self-centered? Of course you would, right? It comes from uh, understanding that spiritual practice is absolutely the best use of our life. Like when we're practicing, we're really bringing meaning to our life. Yeah. There's nothing else that even comes close. And it comes from contemplating the four thoughts that turn the mind towards the Dharma, sometimes called the four mind changes or just the four thoughts. It's a very common teaching. You can find teachings on it in many texts and online and so forth. So, and also in our videos, talked about this more than once. Um, so in brief, these four thoughts are, and if you want more explanation, then again, go and look back at previous videos or in any Buddhist text. A lot of Buddhist texts talk about it. So the first is precious human life. Okay. Um, it's an incredible blessing that we landed a life where we can practice the Dharma. That's the essence of the teachings on precious human life. Yeah. In this life, due to eons of virtuous action, we have a life where we can practice, where and there's a bunch of details that go behind that I'm not going to go into right now. Okay. But we have this thing that's really hard to get and that's extraordinarily precious because this is the kind of life that's going to allow us to progress towards enlightenment. Second is impermanence. So when we're contemplating impermanence in this context, we we think about how we have no idea how long this life will last. So we have this precious human life that was really hard to get, and we don't know how long it will last. So the saying is, death is certain, but the time of death is uncertain. Yeah, we could go at any moment. So how is that turning the mind towards the Dharma? So therefore, we really need to practice. Yeah. The third is the law of cause and effect, otherwise known as karma. Yeah. We're contemplating this because we don't know what's waiting for us down the road. It's two things, actually. We don't know what's waiting for us because we have countless previous lives behind us. And, the way that the law of cause and effect works is, you know, um, in very, very brief terms, uh, virtuous or skillful acts of body, speech, and mind bring happiness. Unvirtuous or unskillful acts of body, speech, and mind bring suffering. Okay. So we don't know when those things are going to come to fruition because it's complicated in brief. But again, you look at other teachings to learn more about that. Okay. So, and here is our incredible opportunity to make things better for ourselves and others. Therefore, I should practice, right? I have a precious human life. I don't know how long it's going to last. Now's my chance to purify negative karma, create positive karma. The fourth, and therefore I should practice, the fourth is the suffering of cyclic existence or samsara. Okay. There's so much suffering in cyclic existence. Even in just the human realm, if we think about it, it's very easy, unfortunately, to find. Not to mention the animal realm and other realms. Yeah. So now is our chance to get out of this spinning prison, as Shigme Khyentse Rinpoche calls it. Yeah. And to help others to do the same. So how joyful is that? These four things turn the mind towards the Dharma, meaning contemplating these four subjects helps us to want to practice, helps us to generate that motivation to practice when we might not want to practice. And the fact that this teaching even exists, proves that, everybody's like this throughout time, right? People need to work to turn their mind towards the Dharma. It doesn't necessarily come naturally. So it's not a personal failing, or a problem with the modern age like this has been going on for centuries. Yeah, it's just the way the humans are and our habits. So we can see these four mind changes or these four thoughts that turn the mind towards the Dharma. We can see them as sticks or we can see them as carrots. So that's up to us, right? So I'll give you examples. So precious human life. If you want to see that as a stick, you can think, you better get to it. You worked hard for this. Mush. That can be your attitude. Or if you want to see it as a carrot, You can think it's so great that I have this amazing opportunity. That this is up to us how we see it, yeah? And we can change it, we can switch it. Impermanence. Stick, you don't have much time. You could die at any second. Panic, right? Carrot, I'm excited to be using my time well because I know that it won't last forever. This is great, right? Karma or a law of cause and effect. Stick, you don't know what you've done in the past, evil child. You better practice or you're in big trouble. Carrot, I'm so happy to have this opportunity to create more positive karma and to help myself and others be free of suffering. Yeah? Suffering of samsara. Stick, look at the suffering that awaits you if you don't get your act together. Get on your cushion. This is how we talk to ourselves. Carrot, practicing affords me the chance to be free of suffering. Not only that, but to help others to be free as well. So we have the same four things, two different ways of looking at them. Yeah. So if we need to, we can make a little list like that, just a little, a little piece of paper, a post-it note, even with just bullet points, how to see it. If we need to remind ourselves, can keep it by our cushion or near our altar. Right? The second point that helps uh, change our attitude is to relax. Okay, Machi Globdron, who was a great woman master in Tibet, said, "Best relaxation, best meditation." So if we are approaching the practice with tension, which often happens, right? Maybe because we feel pressed for time, or we feel, or like we don't feel like practicing at that moment, or whatever, it's going to be unpleasant and difficult. Take a breath. Think about how incredibly fortunate you are to be able to do this practice, to have encountered the Dharma at all. I mean, this is easier to see, I think, in the West than in Tibet or other places that are like the culture is Buddhist, because how many people do we know that are Vajrayana practitioners? You know, not that many, not our families, most likely, you know, not all of our friends. Maybe we have a friend in the Dharma, but mostly not. Not our neighborhood, not our city, certainly not our country. Yeah, so it's a little bit easier, I think, for us to see this is a rare thing, We're so fortunate to be able to do this, to have encountered the Dharma. These few minutes of practice, however long you're practicing, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever, it's a gift. It's a gift to yourself and it's a gift to others, right? Take the time, use that time. Take advantage fully and leave everything else aside for that amount of time, right? So sometimes when we sit, when we first start to sit, all the chatter starts, right? Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Oh, tomorrow's Easter, am I going to go to my family's? What's happening? Right. Rinpoche, two Rinpoches told us if we're having a lot of this kind of discursive thought when we start a practice, we should talk to them, talk to these chattering creatures with chattering thoughts and say, he said, just say, please leave me alone for now. I want to practice. I promise I'll deal with you after. It may sound silly, but it actually works. I remember in my first retreat when he said that, I was like, rolling my eyes, kind of, oh, come on. But I tried it and it really works, it really works. It's so funny how the mind is. Third, we need to understand that practice isn't always going to be easy and pleasant. You know, sometimes no matter how hard we try, we cannot relax. We cannot find the joy. In these times, we need to practice anyway. So this is where it becomes tricky, right? Because we're trying to do this daily practice so we can keep the momentum, right? So we can practice in any situation. And if we are Vajrayana practitioner, we also have certain commitments to do sadhanas, recitations, and so forth, right? So we need to practice anyway, right? And it becomes tricky. So in this case, we need to look at the bigger picture again. Yeah. This is one practice session of years of practice sessions. And it's okay if it's crappy, right? It's okay. It's all right. Every minute of practice is beneficial. Every time we sit, it is beneficial, even if we're distracted the whole time. You should read Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche's books for more on this. Uh, Mingyur Rinpoche, Mingyur Rinpoche. He's very good at explaining this, how all practice is ultimately good practice. So we need to be careful about how we're judging our practice and just do it to the best of our ability. Yeah. Um, so, you know, rather than beating ourselves up about it, we need to be gentle. Understand that the path is a process, that we're not perfect, that we're doing our best. Yeah. We are the ones putting pressure on ourselves. Oftentimes, and I find this, I find myself thinking like this, it feels like pressure is coming from the outside. Yeah. And I want to kind of throw it off of my shoulders, like, don't pressure me. But I'm pressuring me. I'm doing it myself. Yeah. So we need to find a balance between effort and relaxation, right? If we push too hard, as we already discussed, the practice becomes an unpleasant chore. On the other hand, if we don't try at all and we give up at the slightest discomfort, we won't get anywhere. So there's a um, famous story of the Buddha, and there was a monk who used to be a famous Veena player. So Veena is kind of like a lute, a stringed instrument. And he was trying to meditate, but he couldn't find that balance, right? Either he was too tense or he was too loose, and he was like, I can't, what should I do? And the Buddha said, well, you were this Veena player. What happened if your strings were too loose? And the Veena said, I wouldn't get any sound. And then the Buddha said, what happens if the strings were too tight? And he would say, well, the sound would be really strange. It would be off, or they would just break. He said, exactly. This is what we need to do with our mind. Not too loose, not too tight. To keep that balance. Okay. So we need to do that. As long as we keep practicing, whether or not we think our practice stinks, we'll definitely progress. We have to really trust that. Okay. Trungpa Rinpoche has said this repeatedly. When I asked him how we can progress when we necessarily approach the practice through the veil of our ignorance and neurosis. So, what I mean by that is, you know, like this questioner asked, yeah, like I was raised this way, and so it's hard for me to not approach the practice that way because that's what I'm used to, right? That's kind of built in from childhood. Yeah. So some of us have that, or some of us are approaching the practice through beating ourselves up. Some of us are approaching the practice with pride, you know, oh, I'm very good at this, or oh, I've met so many lamas, received so many empowerments, whatever. We just can't avoid it. It's necessary. Like, there's just not a way out of that. We can't, if we were enlightened already, we wouldn't need to practice. You know what I mean? So, by extension, it means that we are always doing, until we attain enlightenment, our practice is always kind of polluted. Yeah. No matter what, because we're not enlightened yet. So how do we progress? This was my question. Yeah. And and he said, so Rinpoche said that the practice itself is so powerful that even doing it imperfectly has an effect. It's positive. And over time, our practice will gradually improve because we are practicing, and it's getting rid of these kind of obscurations and obstacles and things like that that make it hard for us to practice. So we just need to keep going. We need to keep going. And finally, we have to understand that change isn't going to happen by just hearing about it. Okay. A lot of us make this mistake, and we might not even realize it. But we have to make the determination to do something about it ourselves, to put in the effort. We need to pay attention and see what our attitude is, and not just believe the chatter. We not just accept the, um, you know, can I say this sort of obscured thoughts that might arise. Pay attention, be mindful. How am I thinking about this? What is my attitude about this? Yeah. And then do something to change it. Think about what kind of attitude you would like to have. Oh, I'd like to be more relaxed. I'd like to be more spacious. I'd like to have bodhicitta, whatever it is, right? So it's only by doing that we're going to get anywhere. We can hear about, if you think about driving, right? It's kind of crazy. Yeah, like we've been in our generation anyway, we were in cars our whole life, parents taking us here and there, driving us here and there. It doesn't mean we know how to drive. Yeah. We can watch every motion of the driver. The driver can't even explain to us. So I'm pressing on the gas, it makes us go. I'm turning on my blinker, I'm turning the wheel this way and that, I'm pressing on the brake. We can feel by watching and hearing and being the passenger that we understand and that we know how to drive. And then we actually get behind the wheel. And if you remember back to when you were 16, it's quite a different thing, yeah, to be behind the wheel and actually trying to drive, right? So the only way that we could learn how to drive was to try driving, yeah. And then eventually, over time, with practice, we get better and better at that. And now we didn't even have to think about it. Everything just comes automatically, turning, braking, gas, whatever, looking in the mirrors, we're not even thinking about it. We're just driving. So this the same with spiritual practice, it's really not that different, right? We're not going to learn by just hearing about it. We're not going to change by just hearing about it or reading about it or talking about it. We have to do it. Yeah. We we need to be active participants in our own progress and not passive, expecting things to change just because someone told us about it. And we need to understand that it's not going to happen just even though we try, right? Even though we're like, I'm doing it. It's not because we do it once or twice that, oh, suddenly it should just happen all the time. It's a process, it's an effort, like driving or learning to play the piano or learning another language or whatever. It's no different with spiritual practice. We need to understand that and take spiritual practice kind of out of this realm of like mystical, magical, even though it is kind of mystical and magical in its own way, right? But we need to kind of take it out of that realm of fantasy, magic, exotic, and into the realm of practical. Yeah, right? If we want to learn to play the piano, nobody would ever dream of saying, "Well, I heard about it so many times, I should just be able to sit down and play Beethoven." Nobody would say that. We totally understand that we have to go through this BS phases of learning the scales and playing Mary Had a Little Lamb, before we can play something we're interested in. It's the very same process. Trust me, it is not different. Okay? It is not different. It's just a different type of thing, but the process is essentially the same. Okay? If you need to review, if you feel like I heard about this so many times, like I'm not getting it, or I still don't understand, review. You know, this is so many Dharma texts, have these same teachings, and Rinpoche often um, encourages us to read the biographies of past masters, to get inspired. Sometimes honestly for me, sometimes that works, sometimes not so much, depends on the biography. Because sometimes there's so much like, I don't know, um, things that don't seem applicable to my life, you know. But there's one that I really, really like. It's called The Life of Shabkar, Shabkar. It's a thick book, but I really enjoy this one because he is so honest and he's so down to earth and he shows his own errors, and it just seems like very human, and so it's something I feel more like I can relate to. But there's also like the life of Milarepa and Machi Labdrön and Yeshe Tsogyal and other masters, right? That we can look to and see their determination and their obstacles and things that they overcame, right? So there's those texts, but there's also like we have a lot of past videos on this channel that cover these things. So I went through and there's 11 at least 11, right? Four mind changes, good enough and basic goodness, purpose of the path, practice in daily life, joyful effort, the perfectionist, importance of meditation, motivation to practice, the benefits of meditation, working with boredom and sensation in meditation, and failing at practice. Okay. So we can always look back and say, well, maybe there's a video here that's, gonna cover what I'm thinking about. And there's lots of other videos, like if you're wondering about impermanence or you're wondering about death and dying, look through the videos and there'll be some kind of talk about that. Although, really better to hear from the masters. But anyway, so in essence, our practice is in our own hands, right? We should have the humility to realize that we're not perfect and that we're going to fall and we just need to get up again. And the Vajra confidence to realize that we have Buddha nature, we have basic goodness or enlightened nature, yeah? And as long as we keep going, we're bound to attain enlightenment. Okay? All right. So, and the practice. I hope that was helpful. All right. So, okay. So we're going to do mindfulness of breathing practice today. Um, And maybe we'll do Tonglen for oneself, which can be another tool that can help us to practice in a more non-judgmental, um, more relaxed way. Okay? All right. So let's begin with mindfulness breathing. So if you're sitting in a chair, you want your feet flat on the floor in front of you. If you're sitting on the floor or on your bed or what have you, just cross your legs in whatever way is comfortable. Otherwise, all the instructions are the same. So you want to put your hands either in this position in your lap or hands folded one on top of the other like that, or palms down on your legs, whatever's more comfortable for you. Main thing is that your back is straight but relaxed. Okay, so not like that, right? Just straight but relaxed. Back of the neck is also straight, so your chin's going to be tucked in a little bit. Arms are relaxed. Shoulders are back a little bit, so I just roll them back once and you'll feel right away as it opens up the chest. Mouth is closed but relaxed. Tongue resting on the roof of the mouth. Breathing through the nose. Eyes are open, looking down, the relaxed, like half open, yeah? Looking down with the relaxed lowered gaze. So this is the posture. It's called the 9-point posture of Varochana. So now bring your awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. So focusing kind of at the tip of the nose. Take a moment to notice that, please. Okay. So the practice is about maintaining, to the best of our ability, continuous awareness of that sensation and letting the thoughts come and go as they will without getting distracted. Okay. So just notice the sensation, keep continuous, relaxed, spacious awareness of that sensation. A thought will arise, dwell, and disappear on its own. It will be replaced by another thought that rises, dwells, disappears, like that. A continuous kind of stream, like this clouds moving through the sky. Due to habit, we are going to get distracted at some point, start running after some thought and feeding it and so forth. As soon as we realize we got distracted, simply bring the mind back to the breath and focus on the breath again. Then we'll get distracted again, then we'll bring the mind back again. That's the practice. Okay. In Tibetan, the word for meditation is gom. And what gom means is become familiar with, to get used to. So in this practice, mindfulness of breathing, we're becoming familiar with the mind in the state of awareness and the mind in the state of distraction. And we are getting used to bringing the mind back from distraction to awareness. Okay. So that's essentially the practice. It's simple, not necessarily easy. It's not like there's a lot of steps, though. So, in that sense, it's simple. Okay. So, please begin that now. Focus on the breath, continuous awareness to the best of your ability, bringing the mind back to the breath when you get distracted. Okay. Please begin. Now you can begin to count the breaths, counting either every in breath or every out breath for a total of 10 breaths. Counting is a tool and helps us realize more quickly when we've gotten distracted. So maybe we get to 4 and then just lose our awareness altogether. Then we realize, oh, I lost count. No big deal. Start again at 1. You get to 10 without distraction. Again, just go back and start again at 1. So please begin that now. And now we're going to move into the Tonglen practice of exchange. So first we begin by just resting the mind. So not trying to concentrate on anything, but yet not being distracted. Just take a moment to let the mind settle. So please do that now. Now imagine in your heart center, so the middle of your chest, a bright white light like a shining star. And for this practice, if you find it easier to close your eyes, that's perfectly fine. Now consider that you're breathing in gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy, through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke begins to dissolve into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. Now imagine that you're breathing out white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright, through all the pores of your body. the light going in all directions. Now imagine yourself in front of yourself, facing you. So the you that is meditating is the part of yourself that is completely in touch with your Buddha nature, your basic wisdom and compassion. And the you that you're visualizing is the part of yourself that is suffering, confused, in pain. So first, want to regard yourself as a friend. Notice without embarrassment your many good qualities. Appreciate them, your intelligence, your sense of humor, how you try your best every day to fulfill the various roles in your life, things that you're good at, just like you would a friend. And if in that process you notice things you're not happy about with yourself, that's fine, and be gentle. You know, we think about those that you love. Of course, you know they're not perfect. Of course, there's things they do that you don't like or that, you see as faults, but you still love them. And they have the same attitude towards yourself. Yeah. Then think about the ways that you are currently suffering. Of course, you know that better than anybody. And generate compassion for that. Compassion for your own suffering, the wish that you be free of suffering, that you be happy. Oh, consider that all your suffering, whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves the visualized you, it comes to the meditating you, and you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke begins to dissolve into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then you offer yourself happiness, good fortune, anything at all that you might need to feel better. And add to that the wish that you attain full enlightenment in this very lifetime. All of that takes the form of white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright. And you breathe this light out through all the pores of your body, and the light leaves the meditating you, goes to the visualized you. And when these rays of light touch the visualized you see all of your suffering just completely disappears. And you feel so relaxed, happy, joyful, at ease. And the meditating you feels really deeply joyful for being able to do this for yourself. Now we go through the same process, but for all sentient beings. So we begin by visualizing all beings all around us. Use your CGI tools in front, as many beings as you can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon. To the right, as many beings as you can imagine, all the way to the horizon. Behind, same thing, all the way to the horizon. And to the left again, all the way to the horizon, as many beings as you can imagine. And now you're in the middle of a sea of sentient beings. And the first thing we want to consider is our similarity in that each and every sentient being, just like us, wants to be happy. Each and every sentient being, without exception, just like us, wants to be free of suffering. And each and every being, without exception, just like us, suffers nonetheless. So we are all the same in that way. And we are all connected. You know, the Buddha taught that every sentient being has at one point or another been our kind and loving mother in our series of countless previous lives. But if that's too much, that's okay. We can at least just think about what we just said about how we're all the same and wanting to be happy, wanting to be free of suffering. We can also think about all the countless sentient beings who go into maintaining our daily life. So we almost never think about that. Those who produce our food, those who ship it to the store and work in the store, those who gave us a job or otherwise gave us money somehow that we could buy this food, right? Same with our clothing. So much went into making it. So many people involved in that process. Or we could just think about the roads that we use to get from place to place are maintained by others. Utilities, wherever we live, house, apartment, someone built that, right? So it's kind of incredible. If we feel alone and unsupported, we can think about these things and realize actually we're really supported. We're so connected. So we think about all beings and we consider whatever ways they're suffering physically, mentally, emotionally. And then we imagine that all their suffering, whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy, and it leaves them and it comes to you. And with so much generosity and openness and courage, you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And then the smoke begins to dissolve into the white light in your heart center, dissolving and dissolving and dissolving until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then you offer these beings your own happiness, giving it away, your own good fortune, whatever they may need to feel better, and adding to that the wish that they attain full and complete enlightenment in this very life. All of that takes the form of white light, very powerful, clean, clear, really bright, light in weight, cool in temperature. Every pore of your body emanates a ray of this white light in every direction as far as the eye can see. And when these rays of light touch all of these beings without exception, their suffering just lifts off of them and disappears like fog in the morning sun. And they feel so happy, relieved, joyful. And you too feel really joyful for being able to do this for them. Now we let go with the visualization altogether. Gently bringing the mind back to the breath and into the present moment, here and now. Okay, so now we're going to do the closing prayers, and then I have some announcements, so please hang around. You can download the closing prayers through a link below. Do check out those links. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So sharing, here we go. All right. So we'll just read these in English. We have these long life prayers for Dalai Lama and our other teachers, and then go from there. In the celestial realm, so we go Dalai Lama and then the one below it and over. That's the order. In the celestial realm, encircled by snow peaks, you are the source of every happiness and benefit. Tenzin Gyatso, Avalokiteshvara himself, may your lotus feet remain firm for 100 eons. Om Swasti, in the vast expanse of your fearless wisdom, shine the 100,000 cooling light rays of your all-pervading great love, dispelling the anguish of beings in this degenerate age. O supreme jewel of space, regent of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, remain with us continuously, we pray. Om Swasti, through dependent causation and the blessings of the infinity of long life deities, may Pema Wangal, prophesied magical emanation of the Taklin Sutro, be firm in body, speech, and mind like the king of the sounding drum, Amitabha, and may the great waves of his wishes through the teachings and beings spread out to their ultimate extent. We pray for the good health of the lamas. We pray for their precious lives to be long. We pray for their activities to spread and increase. May we be blessed never to part from them. And this dedication prayer. Then these other prayers, and then we say the mantra. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy, wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all beings. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it never fail, but grow and flourish ever more and more. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and primordial awareness, appearance, sound, and perception in the state of divinities, mantras, and dharmakaya, may I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one taste. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishtadredo Me Bhava Sudokayo Me Bhava Subokayo Me Bhava Anuragdo Me Bhava Sawasidi Me Prayatsa Sawakama Sutta Me Shitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Savatata Vajrama Me Munsa Vajri Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva. All right, so I have a couple of announcements, so please don't go just yet. Um, We practice the Buddhasana together on Zoom. It's such a nice practice. I wish more people would join us for that. It's on the lunar calendar, so it's not always at the same time. But if you look on our calendar, you can find when those days are. And if you look at our website, you can find the Zoom link and you can join us. And you can download the sadhana on our site. We will be starting a new class soon, um, having to do with women in Buddhism as part of our series, The Feminine Force in Buddhism. Information will be coming out about that relatively soon. We have meditation every Saturday. It's always on YouTube, and usually it's also the second Saturday of the month at the Lakewood Public Library on Detroit. However, this Saturday, I mean, sorry, next Saturday, we will not be doing that because I will not be able to be there in person. So please make sure that you're looking at the newsletter or that you have signed up for the newsletter because we're just going to reschedule that. Okay. Yeah, so also I have been fostering this dog. She's currently at the Valley View, um, what do you call Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter in Valley View. So I'm just going to show you some photos of her. I really, really, really want her to find her forever home. Her name is Ginger. Look how cute she is, you guys. She probably weighs about 45, 50 pounds. She's very sweet, very affectionate. She's a good girl, and she's not so skinny anymore. She need to put some weight on, but this is her helping me sit on my cushion, not get up. So we're outside, and she thinks she's a lap dog, so she likes to sit in your lap no matter how small the chair. And here she is, just not being able to face the day, I guess. So please think about if you yourself are not ready, or you can't, maybe a friend, who wants a dog. I really recommend her. So her name is Ginger, and you can find her at that shelter. If you're able to make donations, we always, always appreciate it very much. So please consider doing that. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, make comments. I know you can't make comments while we're live, but as soon as we're done, you should be able to make comments, and you can like it now. So that just helps bring more people here, which is what we want in order to benefit the most, maximum amount of people. Um, Share with your friends and family if you like the video, and make sure that you sign up for the newsletter. Yeah, this is really important because that's the best way to know what's happening at any given time. We do try to keep the website updated, but the best thing is the newsletter. So if you haven't signed up, make sure that you do. Okay. All right, so that's it. Thank you so, so much for joining me this morning or for watching the video later. It's really nice to have you, and I hope that it was beneficial. All right, bye. See ya. Love ya.